Rust had no business being on a military door. Cadet Rilla ran her fingers across the orange flakes on the combat simulation wing entrance. The Fenari female had fur the color of autumn leaves, and her large eyes narrowed with confusion. This equipment should be used every day. Why was it rotting? Strange, isn't it? Said a voice behind her. Rilla turned to find human female standing there. Short dark hair, warm brown skin, a friendly smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. I'm Priya, the human said. We're roommates. Rilla. She gestured at the rusted door. Do you know why this wing is closed? Priya's smile flickered. It's better that way. Come on. Orientation starts soon. The Galactic Military Academy floated in orbit above a neutral world. 12 species sent their best young soldiers here to train together. The goal was unity, cooperation, peace through understanding. Rilla had dreamed of this place her entire life. The orientation hall held 300 cadets. Commander Sorvith stood at the front. He was Kelori, tall and thin, with silver scales that caught the light. His voice carried easily. Welcome to the Academy. You represent the finest your worlds have to offer. Here, you'll learn to fight together, to think together, to protect our union from any threat. Rilla noticed the 3 human cadets sitting apart from everyone else. They wore different color badges, blue instead of green. Combat simulations are the heart of our training, Sorvith continued. Full neural immersion. Your minds will believe the danger is real. This pushes you beyond normal limits. Excitement rippled through the crowd. Everyone knew about the simulations. They were legendary. However, Sorvith said, and his voice grew careful, human cadets will not participate in combat simulations. This is not negotiable. This is not punishment. It is simply how things are. Silence. Rilla looked at the humans. The oldest one, a male with sun-damaged skin and tired eyes, stared at his hands. The younger male, barely past childhood, picked at his sleeve. Priya sat perfectly still, and no one asked why. Later, in their shared room, Rilla tried. The simulations are everything, she said. Why would they ban you? Priya was organizing her belongings. Her movements were precise, controlled. It's complicated. Try me. The human woman stopped. For a moment, something dark crossed her face. Then she smiled again, that same smile that never touched her eyes. Some things are better left alone, Rilla. Trust me on this. Weeks passed. Rilla watched the humans carefully. They excelled at everything. Danny, the oldest, had reflexes that bordered on impossible. Priya could diagnose injuries faster than the medical computers. Young Ollie solved tactical problems that stumped instructors twice his age. Yet they were banned from the one thing every cadet wanted most. Rilla started asking questions. Most instructors changed the subject. Some simply walked away. But one old Fenari janitor, drunk on fermented nectar, whispered something that stuck with her. The last incident was 40 years ago. We don't speak of it. What incident? The janitor's eyes went wide. He scurried away without another word. Rilla found herself in the academy library at night. The archives were mostly open to cadets. Mostly. She searched for anything related to humans and simulations. Nothing. She tried different terms. Kumba. Integration. Training incidents. .1 file appeared. Locked. Classified. But the preview thumbnail showed a single image. A simulation chamber. The walls were scorched black. Medical teams rushed through the frame, carrying bodies on stretchers. The timestamp read 43 years ago. The file was labeled simply, Event 7. Rilla tried to access it. A warning flashed across her screen. Then the file vanished completely, as if it had never existed. Her heart was pounding. What had she seen? What had happened in that chamber? The next morning, she found Danny in the meal hall. He was feeding scraps to a small cleaning robot, speaking to it softly like it was a pet. You were looking at restricted files last night, he said without looking up. Rilla froze. How did you know? The academy monitors everything. Danny finally met her eyes. There was something old in his gaze. Something heavy. Let it go, Rilla. Some doors are locked for good reasons. I saw a picture. A burned chamber. Medical teams. Danny's hand stopped moving. The cleaning robot bumped against his fingers, confused. 40 years, he said quietly. 40 years, and they still can't forget. Forget what? He stood up slowly. His joint cracked. He was only 30 standard years old, but right now he looked ancient. What we become, Danny said, when we stop being human. He walked away. Rilla watched him go. Her curiosity had turned into something else now. Something that felt like fear, but she couldn't stop. She needed to know. That night, she recruited 2 other cadets. Ben was taller than, massive and armored, built for war. Whisper was silene, telepathic, able to sense emotions. I need your help, Rilla told them. I need to know what the humans are hiding. Ben laughed. Those soft little creatures? What could they possibly be hiding? Whisper's antennae twitched. I've tried to read them. Their emotions are strange, like a still pond with something enormous moving beneath the surface. Rilla shivered. Then let's find out what's down there, she said. She had no idea what she was about to unleash. 3 weeks of watching taught Rilla more than 3 years of school. Humans were strange, not in obvious ways, in small ones. The way Danny always sat with his back to walls. How Priya's eyes tracked movement constantly, even during rest. The way young Ollie smiled at everyone, but never truly relaxed. They were always alert, always ready. For what? Rilla did not know. Their prey animals pretending to be friends, Ben said during one of their secret meetings. The Torthan's armored plates shifted as he laughed. My people could crush them with one hand. Whisper's antennae flattened. You don't sense what I sense. There's something coiled inside them. Something waiting. Waiting for what? I don't know. That's what frightens me. Rilla had a plan. It was not a good plan, but it was a plan. The Academy's maintenance AI was old and easy to trick. She convinced it to schedule an equipment test in Simulation Chamber 7. A simple systems check. Nothing suspicious. Her real goal was different. We bring Danny into the chamber, she explained. Run a basic scenario. See what happens. Ben cracked his massive knuckles. And if nothing happens, then we know the ban is foolish. But if something does happen, we learn the truth. Whisper finished. The night came quickly. Rilla led her small group through empty corridors. The rust on the simulation wing doors seemed worse than before. Had nobody entered in years, the chamber itself was cold. Dark. Ancient equipment lined the walls. Neural interface stations sat in a circle, their cables coiled like sleeping snakes. This place feels wrong, Whisper said. Just nerves, Ben replied, but his voice was quieter than usual that a sound made them all freeze. Footsteps. Coming closer, Danny appeared in the doorway. His face showed no surprise. I knew you wouldn't give up, he said. Rilla's heart hammered. How did you find us? Followed you. It wasn't hard. Danny stepped into the chamber. His eyes swept across the equipment, the walls, the ceiling, checking for threats that weren't there. You want to know why we're banned? I understand. Curiosity is powerful. Then tell us. Danny sat down on one of the interface stations. His movements were slow, deliberate, like a man preparing for something painful. Have you ever heard of adrenaline? He asked. The aliens exchanged confused looks. It's a chemical, Danny explained. When humans face danger, our bodies release it into our blood. It makes us faster, stronger. It dulls pain. It sharpens focus. Many species have similar responses, Ben said. It's basic survival biology. Danny smiled. It was not a happy smile. Human adrenaline is different. Our ancestors lived on a death world. Everything tried to kill them. The climate, the animals, the plants, even the water. For millions of years, survival meant reacting faster, fighting harder, and ignoring wounds that should have killed us. He paused. The silence stretched. When danger comes, we don't think anymore. We become something older, something that evolution built for one purpose only. What purpose? Rilla asked. Danny's eyes met hers. They were cold now. Empty. Survival. At any cost. Against any enemy. No matter what. Ben laughed nervously. That sounds like a story told to scare children. Prove it. Whisper said softly. Everyone turned to look at the Silene. You say humans become something dangerous. Prove it. Show us. Danny was quiet for a long moment. A sparring match, Rilla said. Just a simple one. Lowest difficulty. You and Ben. Ben puffed up his armored chest. Excellent idea. I've been wanting to test myself against human reflexes. Danny looked at the tour then. Something flickered behind his eyes. I'll do it, he said finally. But you need to promise me something. What? If I say stop, you shut everything down immediately. Don't wait. Don't ask questions. Just do it. Ben laughed. Afraid I'll hurt you? Danny didn't laugh. I'm afraid of what I'll do to you. The equipment hummed to life. Neural interfaces connected. The chamber's walls dissolved into a simple arena. Padded weapons appeared in their hands. Ben rolled his massive shoulders. First to 3 hits. Simple rules. Danny nodded. He looked smaller now. Vulnerable. Just a soft human against an armored warrior. The match began. Ben charged. His strength was legendary among his people. One swing could shatter stone. Danny flew backward, hit the ground hard, rolled to a stop. The aliens watching relaxed. See? Nothing special. Danny stood slowly, rubbed his shoulder. Something changed. Rilla couldn't identify at first. Danny looked the same. Same posture. Same expression, no. Not the same. His breathing had shifted. Deeper. Slower. Ben charged again. This time, Danny moved. He wasn't where the blow landed. He was inside Ben's guard, striking once, twice, 3 times at the gaps in the Torthan's armor. Places that shouldn't have been vulnerable. Nerve clusters. Joint weaknesses. Pressure points. Ben stumbled back, gasping. Lucky shots, he growled. But Rilla could see his hands shaking. The simulation shifted. Obstacles appeared. Terrain changed. Standard difficulty adjustment for matched opponents. Ben was struggling now. Danny hadn't spoken a word since the match began. His movements were mechanical. Perfect. Like a predator that had done this a million times before. Whisper grabbed Rilla's arm. His emotions, the Silene gasped. They're gone. There's nothing left but what? Purpose. Ben tripped. Fell. In any normal match, this meant a pause. Danny was on him instantly. Weapon raised high. Aimed at Ben's skull. One blow away from ending everything. His eyes were empty. No Dani. No person. Just pure cold killing intent. Stop. Rilla screamed. The simulation froze. Danny stood motionless above Ben for 3 eternal seconds. Then awareness crept back into his eyes. He dropped the weapon like it was burning. Ben lay completely still. His armor suddenly felt paper thin. Danny staggered to a corner and vomited. When he could speak again, his voice was barely a whisper. That was 20% difficulty. Nobody moved. The old simulations went to 100. Danny wiped his mouth with a trembling hand. Now imagine 100 humans, all pushed to that point all at once. Rilla understood now. The rusted doors. The classified files. The fear. Humans weren't banned because they were weak. They were banned because they were terrifying. Sleep would not come. Rilla lay in her bunk, staring at the ceiling. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Danny's face. The emptiness. The absolute void where a person should have been. She had trained with warriors her entire life. She had seen combat veterans, killing machines, soldiers who had ended hundreds of lives. None of them had frightened her like this, because those warriors chose to kill. Danny didn't choose anything. Something else took over. Something ancient and terrible that wore his body like a suit that a soft knock at her door made her jump. It's me. Whisper's voice came through. I can't sleep either. Rilla opened the door. The Silene stood there, antennae drooping with exhaustion. I keep reaching for his emotions, Whisper said. Even now, from across the station, there's so much guilt inside him. So much shame. Like he's mourning someone who isn't dead. He's mourning himself, Rilla realized. The person he can't be anymore. They walked together through silent corridors. The station's night cycle dimmed the lights to a soft blue. Everything felt dreamlike. Unreal. They found themselves outside the Academy archives. The restricted section. I need to know what happened 40 years ago, Rilla said. The full story. It's locked. Then we unlock it. Whisper's telepathic abilities couldn't read thoughts, but they could sense emotions at close range. Rilla watched as her friend reached out toward the archive door. feeling for the security guard on the other side. "He's asleep," Whisper reported. "Deep sleep. We have maybe an hour." The restricted terminal was older than everything else. Rilla's fingers danced across it, trying code she had memorized from watching instructors. Point 1 worked. The screen flickered. A single file appeared. Archive 7. The Brisbane Incident. Full documentation. Classification level. Maximum. Rilla opened it. The first page was a summary. 22 human cadets. 178 alien cadets. Full combat simulation. Maximum difficulty. A training exercise designed to test integrated units. It was supposed to be simple, Rilla read aloud. A shipboarding scenario. Simulated pirates. Standard tactics. The second page contained primary accounts. Video files. Rilla selected the first one. A helmet camera feed filled the screen. Alien cadets moving through a simulated ship corridor. Weapons ready. Formation tight. Everything by the book. Then the shooting started. Rilla watched as the alien cadets responded professionally. Covering fire. Tactical movements. Controlled bursts. She also watched as a human female, barely past adolescence, ripped through simulated enemies with her bare hands. Her weapon had jammed. Any other soldier would have fallen back. Found cover. Cleared the malfunction. This girl didn't even slow down. She grabbed a simulated pirate by the throat. Threw him into 2 others. Picked up a broken pipe from the floor. Became a spinning blur of violence that the camera could barely track. Behind her, a human male took 11 simulated fatal hits. Plasma burns. Projectile wounds. A knife through his shoulder. He kept fighting, not because he didn't feel the pain. Rilla could see his face twisting with agony. He kept fighting because his body refused to stop. His brain was screaming at him to die, but something deeper, something older, wouldn't let him. The video changed to another camera. A different angle. More humans. They were covering each other with a ferocity that transcended tactics. When one fell, 2 more appeared to drag them to safety. When enemies targeted the wounded, humans threw themselves in the way. Not for strategic reasons. Not for logical ones. Something primal had taken over. Pack instinct. Tribal bonds. A million years of protecting their own against impossible odds. The simulation ended. Medical teams rushed in. Rilla paused the video. Her hands were shaking. 14 alien cadets required psychiatric treatment, she read from the aftermath report. 6 never returned to military service. 3 developed permanent fear responses to human presence. And the humans? Whisper asked. Rilla scrolled down. Her blood ran cold. They had to be physically restrained. Some of them took 20 minutes to return to normal awareness. One human male kept fighting the restraints for over an hour. He was convinced his squad mates were still in danger. The final page contained a note from the Academy's first commander. Rilla read it in silence, then read it again. "We brought them here to learn from us. We did not realize we would learn the most terrible lesson of all. The universe's greatest warriors were hiding their nature to spare us." Below the note was a single recommendation, stamped and approved by the Galactic Union Council. Effective immediately, all human cadets are permanently banned from combat simulation exercises. This ban shall remain in effect until such time as sufficient safety protocols can be developed. Expected development time? Unknown. 43 years. No protocols have been developed. No one had even tried. Because how do you build a safety protocol for something that turns people into apex predators? Whisper touched Rilla's shoulder. "We should go. The guard is waking up." They slipped back through dark corridors. Neither spoke. There was nothing to say. Rilla returned to her room. Priya was awake, sitting on her bunk, watching. "You found the archives," the human said. It wasn't a question. Rilla nodded slowly. "Do you understand now? Why they banned us?" "I understand that you're dangerous." Priya laughed softly. It was a bitter sound. "We're not dangerous because we're strong, Rilla. We're dangerous because we can't control it. When our bodies decide we're fighting for survival, our minds become passengers. We watch ourselves do terrible things, and we can't stop." She looked down at her hands. Small hands. Soft hands. Healer's hands. Every human lives with a monster inside them. We spend our whole lives building cages for it. The simulations break those cages. Then why did you come here? Rilla asked. Why join a military academy if you can't fight? Priya's eyes glistened in the darkness. Because we want to be more than our ancestors were. We want to help, to heal, to protect. We came to the stars hoping to leave our violence behind. She wiped her eyes. But you can't outrun evolution. No matter how far we go, the monster comes with us. Rilla lay in her bunk for a long time after that, thinking about monsters, thinking about cages, thinking about what would happen if those cages ever broke again. 1 week passed in uncomfortable silence. Rilla couldn't look at the humans the same way anymore. Every time Danny smiled, she saw the emptiness beneath. Every time Ollie laughed, she heard something hollow in it. Every time Priya offered help, Rilla wondered what those gentle hands were truly capable of. Ben had stopped laughing entirely. The Torthan warrior, who had never feared anything in his life, now took different corridors to avoid the humans. His armored skin felt like paper when he remembered Danny standing over him, ready to kill. Whisper spent most of her time in meditation, trying to process what she had sensed, trying to forget. Life at the academy continued. Training exercises, tactical lessons, physical conditioning. The humans participated in everything except the simulations. They worked harder than anyone, smiled more than anyone, tried harder than anyone to be liked. IT almost worked. Then the alarm started screaming. Rilla was in a meal hall when the red lights flooded everything. Not a drill. The pattern was wrong. This was real. All cadets, shelter in place. This is not a drill. Unknown vessels have breached orbital defense. Armed intruders confirmed in sectors 7 through 12. Chaos erupted. Cadets scrambled for defensive positions. Instructors barked orders. Security teams rushed past with weapons drawn. Rilla found herself pushed into a recreation room with 30 other cadets. Someone sealed the door behind them. Through the small window, she saw figures moving in the corridor. Not Academy security, Nexery. She recognized them from threat assessments. Gray-skinned, four-armed, rejected Galactic Union membership decades ago. Known for piracy, kidnapping, ransom demands. .6 Nexery soldiers burst through the door. Their weapons hummed with deadly energy. Neural dampeners on their belts explained why the Academy's automated defenses hadn't stopped them. "Nobody moves," the leader shouted. His voice was like grinding metal. "We're taking hostages. Wealthy families pay well for their children's lives." Rilla pressed herself against the wall. Around her, young cadets whimpered. Some were barely past childhood. A Fenari girl, couldn't be more than 12 standard years, was crying silently. The 3 humans stood near the back of the room. Danny, Priya, Ollie. Their faces showed nothing. No fear. No anger. No emotion at all. A Nexery soldier grabbed the crying Fenari child, dragged her toward the door. She screamed. Rilla saw Ollie go still, not frightened still, not frozen still, hunting still. Danny put a hand on the young man's shoulder, whispered something in his ear. Ollie's hands were shaking, not with fear. "Please," Danny said, stepping forward slowly. His voice was calm, measured. "Let the children go. Take me instead. Humans are worth more as hostages." The Nexery leader laughed. "One human isn't worth 30 children. Then take all 3 of us. We won't resist." For a moment, it seemed like it might work. The leader considered. Human prisoners were valuable. They had unusual skills, could be sold to various parties. Then one of his soldiers struck the crying child. Time stopped. Rilla would never fully remember what happened next. Her mind couldn't process it. Like trying to remember a dream that faded upon waking. Ollie moved first. He didn't run. He flowed. One moment, he was at the back of the room. The next, he was inside the nearest soldier's guard, using the alien's own momentum to disarm him. Danny and Priya were already moving. They split apart, covering angles Rilla didn't know existed. Working together without words, without signals. Pure instinct from a species that had hunted as packs for a million years. 11 seconds. The first soldier went down when Ollie redirected his own weapon discharge into his leg. Non letal. Precise. The second fell to Danny, who struck nerve clusters with surgical accuracy. The alien collapsed like a puppet with cut strings. Priya took down the third by using his larger partner as a shield, then sweeping his legs and applying pressure to his throat until he lost consciousness. Point 4. 5. 6. Each human moved differently, but the effect was the same. Overwhelming violence applied with terrifying control. Every strike calculated, every movement efficient. No wasted energy, no hesitation. The Nexary leader tried to raise his weapon. Ollie's hand was already there, redirecting the barrel. Danny's fist connected with the alien's temple. Priya caught the body before it hit the ground. Silence. Point 6. Nexary soldiers lay unconscious on the floor. Not dead. Every single one was breathing. The humans had done something even more frightening than killing them. They had chosen not to. Rilla pressed herself against the wall. Around her, cadets did the same. The rescued children huddled together, eyes wide, unable to look away from the three humans standing in the center of the room. Danny was breathing hard. His hands opened and closed at his sides. Fighting for control, Priya was crying. Tears streamed down her face even as her body remained in a fighting stance. Ollie stared at his own hands, like he was seeing them for the first time, like they belonged to someone else. It's over, Danny whispered. It's over. It's over. It's over. He was saying it to himself, trying to convince the monster inside him to go back to sleep. Academy security finally arrived. Armed soldiers filled the doorway, weapons raised. They found three humans standing over unconscious bodies, surrounded by terrified cadets who pressed themselves against walls like prey animals cornered by predators. Weapons down, a security officer shouted. The humans had no weapons. They had never needed them. Danny raised his hands slowly. His movements were careful, deliberate, like a dangerous animal trying to show it meant no harm. We surrender, he said. His voice cracked. Please, we surrender. The security teams hesitated. They'd been trained for this. They knew what humans could become. They saw the unconscious Nexary. They calculated the odds. On your knees, hands behind your heads. All three humans complied immediately, gratefully, like they wanted to be restrained, like they needed someone else to tell them the fighting was over. Rilla watched them being led away. She thought about the archives, the Brisbane incident, 22 humans losing control. These three had faced real enemies, real danger. They could have killed every Nexary soldier in seconds. Instead, they had chosen restraint, chosen precision, chosen to protect without destroying. The monster had come out. But this time, somehow, they had kept it on a leash that, Rilla realized, was the most terrifying thing of all. Not that humans could become killing machines, but that they could be killing machines and still hold back. What kind of willpower did that require? What kind of constant internal war? She looked at the unconscious Nexary soldiers, then at the empty doorway where the humans had been taken. For the first time, she felt something other than fear. She felt respect. 2 days after the attack, the academy felt like a tomb. Corridors that once buzzed with cadet chatter now sat empty. Training exercises were suspended. Everyone waited for news, for explanations, for something to make sense of what they had witnessed. The three humans remained in the medical wing, not as patients, as subjects. Psychological evaluation, threat assessment, containment protocols. Rilla stood outside the medical wing entrance for 3 hours before she found the courage to enter. The security guard recognized her, let her through, either because of her rank as top cadet or because he saw something in her eyes that deserved an answer. She found Danny in the garden section. The medical wing had a small green space, meant to calm troubled minds. He sat on a bench, feeding small swimming creatures in a decorative pool. His movements were gentle. Soft voice, kind eyes, nothing like the empty killing machine she had seen in that recreation room. You shouldn't be here, Danny said without looking up. I needed to see you. Why? To confirm I'm still dangerous? He sprinkled more food into the water. The creatures swirled around his fingers without fear. I am. We all are. Nothing has changed. Rilla sat down on the bench beside him. Her heart pounded, but she stayed. "You're afraid of me now," Danny said. "Good. You should be." "I am afraid," Rilla admitted. "But not for the reasons you think." Danny finally looked at her. His face showed surprise. "I'm afraid," Rilla continued, "because I don't understand how you live like this. Every day, knowing what's inside you, knowing it could break free at any moment." Danny was quiet for a long time. The pool creatures continued their peaceful dance. "You want to know what it's like?" he finally asked. "Imagine there's a room inside your mind. A locked room. Inside that room is the most dangerous version of yourself. The version without mercy, without doubt, without anything except the will to survive." He paused. "Now imagine that room has a door. And every single day, something tries to open it. Fear opens it. Anger opens it. Watching someone hurt the innocent opens it. How do you keep it closed? Practice, training, meditation, medicine, support from others who understand." Danny smiled sadly. "It never gets easier. You just get better at it." Priya appeared at the garden entrance. Her eyes were red from crying. She saw Rilla and hesitated. "It's okay," Danny said. "She wants to understand." Priya sat on Rilla's other side. For a moment, the three of them watched the pool creatures in silence. "I became a doctor because I needed to balance it," Priya said quietly. "Every human finds their own way." Danny was an emergency responder, saving people. Ollie volunteers with children, teaching them, guiding them. "We don't trust ourselves with violence," Danny added. "So we fill our lives with its opposite. Healing, creating, protecting. We build walls around the monster using everything good we can find." Rilla thought about this, but it didn't work during the attack. "No," Priya's voice cracked. "When that soldier hit the child, the walls came down. All of them. Instantly. 40 years of careful training, and I lost control in a heartbeat." "You didn't lose control," Rilla said slowly. "You chose targets. You used non-lethal force. You protected the cadets." Both humans stared at her. "That wasn't control," Danny said. "That was something else. Something we've never experienced before." "What do you mean?" Priya answered. "In the Brisbane incident, the humans couldn't stop. They kept fighting until they collapsed from exhaustion. But we stopped. When the threat ended, we stopped. We don't know why," Danny admitted. "Maybe because the danger was real instead of simulated. Maybe because we've spent decades learning restraint. Or maybe," he trailed off. "Maybe what?" Rilla pressed. "Maybe because we weren't just fighting for ourselves." Danny's eyes grew distant. "In the simulations, humans fight for survival. Pure instinct. But in that room, with all those children, we weren't fighting to survive. We were fighting to protect." Priya nodded slowly. "Different motivation. Different outcome." Rilla considered this. On her world, the Fenari had a saying. "The hunter who fights for meat fights until he eats. The hunter who fights for cubs fights until the threat dies." Perhaps humans had discovered the same truth. Perhaps protection triggered something different than survival. "We came to the stars to be more than warriors," Danny said. "We wanted to help, to heal, to use our strength for good instead of destruction." "But you can't escape what you are," Rilla said. "No." Danny's voice was heavy. "We can't, and we've spent 40 years hiding from it, pretending the monster didn't exist. That's why we accepted the ban. It was easier to be excluded than to face what we might become. And now," Danny looked at the pool. The creatures swam peacefully, unaware of the predator feeding them. "Now I think we were wrong. Running from something doesn't make it disappear. It just makes you weaker when it finally catches you." Priya reached over and took his hand. "The Academy is reviewing our case," she said. "Some want us expelled. Others want us contained. A few want to study us." "What do you want?" Rilla asked. The humans exchanged glances. "We want the same thing we've always wanted," Danny said. "To be useful, to protect, to prove that humanity can be more than its darkest instincts. We just don't know if anyone will give us the chance," Priya added. Rilla stood up. She looked at these two humans, saw the fear in their eyes. Not fear of others, fear of themselves. "I'll speak for you," she said. They stared at her in shock. "Why?" Danny asked. Rilla remembered the recreation room, the terror, but she also remembered what came after. The precision, the restraint, the tears on Priya's face. Because what I saw in that room wasn't monsters, she said. It was people fighting desperately to stay human while doing inhuman things. If that doesn't deserve a second chance, nothing does. She turned and walked away before they could respond. She had a lot of work to do. Commander Sorvith's office had never felt so small. Rilla stood at attention before his desk. Behind her stood Ben and Whisper. The three of them had requested this meeting together, united in purpose if not in comfort. "You want me to lift the human ban?" Sorvith said flatly. His silver scales reflected nothing. "Not lift it entirely," Rilla replied. "Modify it. Allow controlled integration. Supervised training. Based on what evidence?" "That 3 humans nearly killed 6 Nexari soldiers. Based on the evidence that they didn't kill them." Rilla kept her voice steady. They had every opportunity, every instinct telling them to end the threat permanently. And they chose restraint. Sorvith leaned back in his chair. "The Brisbane incident proved that humans cannot control their combat responses. With respect, sir, the Brisbane incident was 40 years ago. These humans are different. They've trained differently. They think differently." Rilla stepped forward. "They stopped, Commander. When the fight was over, they stopped. That has never happened before." Ben shifted uncomfortably. Speaking up was not his strength, but he did it anyway. "I fought Danny in the simulation chamber," the Torthan said. "He was terrifying. I have never felt such fear. But even then, at 20% difficulty, he was pulling his strikes. Part of him was still choosing not to kill. And their emotions," Whisper added. "I've been sensing them since the incident. The guilt, the shame, the desperate need to prove they're more than weapons. These are not monsters, Commander. These are people fighting an internal war every single day." Sorvith was silent for a long moment. "The Galactic Council has already contacted me," he finally said. "The attack exposed vulnerabilities in Academy security. They want solutions." "Then use the humans," Rilla said. "Not as weapons, as teachers. They understand threat response better than any species in the Union. They've spent their entire civilization learning to control something that most species don't even have. And if they lose control again, then we learn from that too. But keeping them locked away teaches us nothing. It just delays the inevitable." Sorvith stood up and walked to his window. The stars beyond reflected in his scales. "I was a young instructor during the Brisbane incident," he said quietly. "I saw the aftermath. I helped carry cadets to medical facilities. I watched strong warriors weep with terror." He paused. "I was afraid of humans for 30 years after that day. And now," Rilla asked, "now I'm tired of fear." He turned to face them. "The Council has requested a formal proposal for human integration into combat training. Controlled, monitored, with extensive safety protocols." Rilla's heart leaped. "I want you 3 to write it," Sorvith continued. "Work with the humans. Design something that could actually function. Prove to me that this isn't foolish optimism." "Yes, sir." They found Danny in the medical wing garden. He was alone this time, staring at the pool without feeding anything. Lost in thoughts too heavy to carry. "Commander Sorvith approved a proposal," Rilla said. "Integration protocols. You'll help design them." Danny looked up. Hope flickered in his eyes, quickly suppressed. He had been disappointed too many times. They're actually considering it. The Council requested it. The attack changed things. They need solutions, and hiding humanity's capabilities isn't one. Priya and Ollie arrived, having heard the news. For the first time since the incident, something like relief crossed their faces. "What would these protocols look like?" Priya asked. "That's what we need to figure out," Whisper said. Together, they worked for weeks. Late nights, early mornings, arguments that nearly ended friendships, breakthroughs that restored them. The humans explained their internal experience in detail. The feeling of losing control, the techniques they used to regain it, the warning signs that came before the monster emerged. The aliens learned to recognize those signs, learned how to redirect human responses, learned that sometimes a gentle touch could do what force could not. Danny designed graduated exposure protocols. Small stresses first, building tolerance slowly, never pushing too hard, too fast. Priya developed medical monitoring systems, ways to track adrenaline levels in real time. interventions that could calm the storm before it became a hurricane. Ollie created buddy systems. Every human paired with an alien partner, someone to ground them, someone to remind them who they really were. When they finished, they had something that had never existed before. A framework for human integration that acknowledged the danger while working around it. Sorvith reviewed it personally, made changes, added safeguards, then sent it to the council. 2 months later, the response came. Approved. The day the combat simulation wing reopened, Rilla stood beside Danny at the entrance. The rust had been cleaned away. New equipment gleamed inside. "Are you ready?" she asked. Danny's hands trembled slightly. "No, I'll never be ready. That's not the point." "What is the point?" He looked at her. Something had changed in his eyes. The fear was still there, but so was something else. Determination. Hope. The point is showing up anyway. Fighting the monster every single day. Not because we'll ever truly defeat it, but because the fight itself makes us human. They entered together. The first integrated simulation was simple. Low stakes. Maximum monitoring. 15 alien cadets. 3 humans. One scenario, NO1 lost control. No one triggered emergency protocols. No one became something they couldn't come back from. IT was a small step. A single moment in a journey that would span generations. But it was a beginning. Afterward, Rilla found Danny sitting outside the wing. He was crying. Not with sadness or fear, with relief. 40 years, he whispered. 40 years of exile. And all it took was someone giving us a chance. Rilla sat beside him. The same spot where she had once watched in terror. Now she watched in something like pride. "I think," she said slowly, "that the bravest thing I've ever seen wasn't you fighting those soldiers." "What was it?" "It was you stopping. It was you choosing every single day to be kind when you could so easily be terrible." Danny smiled through his tears. The first real smile she had ever seen from him. "Then maybe," he said, "we can teach each other something after all." The stars watched silently as 2 species, separated by evolution and united by choice, began building something new. Not trust. Not yet. That would take time, but understanding. And that was enough to start.